Right. This is bollocks. This is bollocks. And Rory's just... So I've just been scrolling through my YouTube and The Rest is Politics has come up. Everyone's favourite centrist dad chortle about the Westminster goings on. It's titled Why Populists Are Making a Comeback. And I thought we could have a little watch of this and see if they are able to hold the mirror up to themselves, perhaps, or maybe hold the mirror up to their team. But I feel like they won't. Anyway, let's have a look.
This Politics is powered by our friends.
Yeah, no. Don't buy that, because it's their thing.
Politicians to watch, asks Amy. Are there any politicians we should be watching out for in 2025, either in the UK or abroad?
See what they
or
say.
some of them we've...
Yes, I think in the UK, people should keep their eyes on Kemi Badenoch, because I think the jury's out. She's just in at the moment. Is she going to be able to do something which is very difficult, which is take a shattered, defeated party that's gone to one of its worst defeats ever, with the Reform Party and Nigel Farage with a lot of momentum and media coverage? Is she going to be able to craft the narrative, find the space for the Conservative Party, and be able to position it? So that would be my question in the UK.
Yep.
Internationally, the big question.
Right, no, okay. A party that has built its political platform on lies, of course. The red team have also been lying, but the blue team's lies were looking for people to blame whilst hacking and slashing at the public services and the state apparatus in general, to the point where 330,000 excess people died. They have nothing to offer. They never did. They had a scapegoat. Nigel Farage has taken the scapegoat. I don't know how they do that unless they tack dramatically to the left and get their fucking arse in gear. But then that won't be the Conservative Party as we know it, so they would never do that, because obviously they're in hock to all of the nasty people in the world, like the rich. Yeah, I don't care about this. I'm here for one thing, actually. Alistair had a career in Devon. Post-truth politics. Well, perhaps Alistair can give us a bit of insight on post-truth politics. I'm sure he's an expert.
This question from Sam Clark. Would you agree that we are not so much in an age of post-truth as we are in an age simply where truth as an objective standard of correctness has no bearing on what people choose to believe?
Well, I think that's really important. Without sounding postmodern, people have got are increasingly into the view of your truth, my truth. And that's very convenient for populists, because it means that the best defense that Trump has, if you call him a liar, is, well, everybody's a liar. And if you say that's not true, he says they're...
I wonder why that is. I wonder why the retort against when someone calls out someone like Nigel Farage, bringing him back to the UK, or Donald Trump as a liar, is that everybody lies. Is that because people on the centre right and the centre, and even the centre left, are only interested in power and what being in power can do for them, instead of what power means in terms of what sort of change you can affect onto the country, into society, to improve people's lives? When was the last time there was somebody elected into the high office that actually was able to offer that in this country? Anyway.
They're all spouting nonsense anyway. Now, that means that the stuff that you did, which was famously all about evidence-based policy.
The stuff you did, which is about evidence-based policy. Well, see, what your mate did, Rory, is he made up evidence, allegedly, in Minecraft, so that we could take our special relationship into the Middle East and glass it. I've said the red team and the blue team, right? Look at the background. It literally says, well, there's just the red team against the blue team. And we just sit back and observe the sport. It's like I'm watching a sports podcast.
Can I just finish on this? Because it's just something that's been bugging me. And it's a sort of slightly grander point, but I just want to throw it at you. I think that the Democrats should not overreact to Trump's victory in this sense. I think that Biden fundamentally was on the right path with his economic reforms. I think the Inflation Reduction Act was good. I think he was beginning to generate infrastructure and jobs for ordinary Americans. I think that the mistake.
His Inflation Reduction Act costs like $2 million per job. Anyway.
Was that he's stuck in office too long, and Kamala Harris didn't have enough time to get going, and maybe she was slightly the wrong Californian, African-American woman demographic. But I think it would be a mistake for the...
Wait, no, I'm just gonna rewind that because I don't want to misinterpret what he's just said and then come out with some wild shit. Because I've got my wild shit hat on today.
The mistake was that he's stuck in office too long, and Kamala Harris didn't have enough time to get going, and maybe she was slightly the wrong Californian, African-American woman demographic.
She didn't have enough time to get going. I mean, there's another old dude in America who had many, many policy positions which she could have adopted, which would have made the lives of Americans better, but she chose not to. She chose to campaign with Liz Cheney, boast about having a gun, and in an interview, when asked what would she do differently, she said she would do absolutely nothing differently. This is while the red team in America is the baddies, by the way. The red team were obviously telling everybody all the bad things that they wanted people to believe about the Biden administration, about immigration and stuff, and look at all the prices going up. This is all Biden. And Kamala Harris was pretty much like, yeah, we'll do some more of the same. Oh, by the way, here's my mate, the warmonger. Wild. I think that's why she lost, but hey, she may have been the slightly wrong African-American woman from California.
But I think it would be a mistake for the Democrats to totally rip up their policy platform and pretend
they don't have one
themselves that the way to win the next election is to either ape Trump or go too far in the Bernie Sanders direction. I think Biden had a sense of what America needs, which is, above all, decent living standards and rising wages for the people at the bottom end. And I think the way to win this next one is...
I think he has a point here, because when Biden was elected, he and Bernie did work on policy in a few areas. Tacking too far to the left is obviously quite dangerous, because people like this will start attacking them, calling them communist, etc., when actually they just want society to be less unequal. But like a slow transition towards Bernie's position would be good, because he ain't going to be around for much longer, and it'd be nice if his life's work could something come to fruition. Even if he is not going to be the president, someone on the left, please.
I want to try this on you. It's a bit like Attlee coming in after Churchill, the end of the Second World War, which is, you got the sense the British people had had enough of kind of charisma and sort of grand stakes narrative, and they wanted to build a welfare state and sort out living standards and create basic things for ordinary British people. And that could be the narrative for the Democrats to get back.
Well, that is the narrative, certainly, that helped Keir Starmer beat the Conservatives. That is
hold up.
And sort out living standards and create basic things for ordinary British people. And that could be the narrative for the Democrats to get back.
Well, that is the narrative, certainly, that helped Keir Starmer beat the Conservatives.
Viewers, please cast your mind back to 2019. December 2019. Someone had just eaten a bat in China. Boris Johnson had the largest majority seen since Blair, and Labour had the worst electoral defeat in something like 70 years, I think. Don't look. Go and look it up. It was a big defeat. The Corbyn project was defeated, not because it was bad, because there was a faction within the Labour Party who decided that they were going to try and push for a second referendum on membership of the European Union. I think it was called a people's vote. And what that meant was that people who voted to leave in Labour seats which the vast majority of Labour seats did vote to leave, meant that they lost their seats. Now, that faction was Keir Starmer's faction. In terms of being brilliant at winning elections, I think we'd call that maybe 1-1. And if we want to look at the most recent election, where Keir Starmer, again, got the biggest majority since Blair by a few seats, I think. A bigger majority than Margaret Thatcher ever had. Well, she certainly had her way with the country, didn't she? She did whatever the fuck she wanted, and look at us now. I'm never going to be able to own a house. Where was I? Ah, yes. So that terrible defeat that Labour suffered in 2019, more people went to the ballot box and ticked the box for the, put a cross in the box for the Labour candidate than did this year. More people voted for Jeremy Corbyn than Keir Starmer. Never let them forget. Never let them forget.
Stop all the nonsense, stop all the lying, blah, 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 blah. I guess the bigger question is whether Trumpism is about Trump or whether there is something that endures beyond Trump that to
yes,
the
his name's
Republican
Elon Musk.
advantage. And I feel that Trump is the current sort of MAGA movement is so much about Trump. It's a question of what legacy he leaves. And I don't think he's the sort of guy who thinks about legacy. He's very much sort of about him in the moment. Look, the most important thing the Democrats have got to do, I think they do have to have a pretty fundamental debate about who and what they are. I think the identity stuff ultimately did do a lot of damage for all the good it might have done along the way. But yeah, that's what I think.
And can I just come in quickly on that and then back to you? Because on the identity stuff, I was talking to an American Democratic voter who said that one of the ways in which Americans picked up on the emphasis on DEI was through their children. It was that, and I saw this actually when we were living in Connecticut in the early part of the Biden presidency and our children were in school. It was very striking how often 6-year-old Sasha would return from school having spent the whole week studying, or quite a lot of the week studying George Floyd or studying Rosa Parks or talking about social injustice. And I picked up from parents at the time, people saying, this is fine, but I want my 6-year-old to be focusing more on learning to read and write. And there's an enormous amount of this stuff coming. And
right. This is bollocks. This is bollocks. And Rory's just slurped it up. Now, I can't imagine primary schooling is too different in the US to how it is in the UK. What he's saying is that people need to stop learning history, right? And learn to read and write. Now, in this country, I think we have like a 99.9% literacy rate. And I learned in my school, about the Montgomery bus boycotts and Rosa Parks. And I imagine if I was in school now, I would also be learning about George Floyd and why people chose to protest back in 2020 and why so many people of minority background are killed by the police. You know, if that was this country, I'd want my kids to fucking know about it. And yes, they could do a piece of writing about it if they wanted to, and they could learn to write along the fucking way. It's not like you just learn how to, like, scribe words. I mean, I could have done with a bit more of that because my handwriting is terrible. But the notion that you need to focus less on the culture and history of your country is wild, because how do we learn from the past if we don't know it? Anyway,
and so
on, Rory.
I suppose what I'm getting at is that, you know, I said to her, but actually Kamala Harris wasn't talking much about cultural diversity stuff during the election. She was talking about incomes for middle classes. We saw that in that Chicago conference. It was quite straightforward. It was quite focused on cost of living. The response to me was, yes, but you're underestimating how much people experienced it and were troubled by it in schools, in workplaces, and how that helped Trump.
Interesting. Yeah.
It is wild that maybe I'm wrong. If you're American, please leave me a comment. If you're feeling threatened by learning about things that have happened throughout the 250 years that your country has been a thing, please let me know.